Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai 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 Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. So, good morning everyone. Thank you so much for coming this morning. So today we're reading from the Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We're reading from the Madhya Leela. Chapter number 9, entitled Lord Chaitanya's Travels to the Holy Places. And today we're reading from text number 301 to 305. So 305 is on the board. Yes. So I'll just read 301 to 304 myself, and then we'll go from there. 301. प्रभु को हे पूर्वश्रामे तेन हमोर भ्राता जगन्नाथ मिश्रा पूर्वश्रामे मोर पिता. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, in my previous ashram, Shankararanya was my brother and Jagannath Mishra was my father. Ei mata dui jane ishtagosti kari dwaraka dekhila chailalar Shri Rangapuri. After finishing his talks with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Rangapuri started for Dwaraka Dham. Dinachari tatha prabhuke rakila brahmana bhimanadi shnana kori korena vithala darshana. After Sri Rangapuri departed for Dwaraka, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained with the brahmana at Pandharpur for 4 more days. He took his bath in the Bhima river and visited the temple of Vithal. Tabe Mahaprabhu aila Krishna Venvatire Nanatirtha Diketara Devata Mandire. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next went to the bank of the Krishna Venva river, where he visited many holy places and the temples of the various gods. Short purport: this river is a branch of the river Krishna. It is said that Thakur Bilvamangal resided on the banks of this river, which is also called the Veena, the Veni, the Sina, and the Bhima. So now we can do responsively. Brahmana Samajasabha Vaishnavara Charita. Brahmana Samajasabha Vaishnava Charita. Vaishnava Sakale Pade Krishna Karanamrita. Vaishnava Sakala Pade Krishna Karanamrita. Brahmana Samajasabha Vaishnava Charita. Brahmana Samaja Sabha Vaishnava Charita. Vaishnava Sakala Pade Krishna Karanamrita. Vaishnava Sakala Pade Krishna Karanamrita. Mataji's. Brahmana Samaja, the community of the Brahmanas, Sabha, all, Vaishnava Charita, pure devotees, Vaishnava Sakala, all the Vaishnavas, Pade, study, Krishna-caritāmṛta, the Krishna-caritāmṛta of Bilvamangal Thakur. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: the Brahmana community there was composed of pure devotees. They regularly studied a book entitled Krishna-caritāmṛta, which was composed by Bilvamangal Thakur. Purport: this book was composed by Bilvamangal Thakur in 112 verses. There are 2 or 3 other books bearing the same name, and there are also 2 commentaries on Bilvamangal's book. One commentary was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and the other by Chaitanya Das Goswami. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Just take permission from my seniors here and all the Vaishnavas. Pray for me that I can share something with you. This morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is traveling. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu travels, he always fulfills multiple purposes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels in South India are about giving, but they're also about receiving. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving association, he's giving inspiration, he's giving knowledge. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also very, very interested in receiving association, receiving inspiration, receiving knowledge also. And so here in this pastime we're seeing that Mahaprabhu has stopped in a certain place and he is very eager to receive. I guess when I read this, this is the first thing that came to my mind, that in a devotee's life they are always giving and receiving. The moment you think you don't need to receive anymore, then you are spiritually dead. The rhythm of life is to breathe out and then to breathe in. And if someone thinks, I've breathed in so many years, now I should just breathe out, then that signifies the end of life. So Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi, he's a preacher, he is seen as a leader of society, but he is also in the mood of receiving. Yes, he must give knowledge, but sometimes he also wants to hear knowledge. When a sannyasi ends up at a temple, they generally give all the classes. I've noticed. And Mahaprabhu comes to the Godavari. And you can imagine, everyone is there. You're only here for a few days. You are a sannyasi, you are moving. We don't know when we'll see you again. You should speak. No, Mahaprabhu said, I have come here to hear. I have come here to listen. No, we may not see you. No, I will hear. I will ask the questions. And then he puts Ramananda Rai in the hot seat and says, I will ask you the questions. So always receiving. Ei mata bhakta bhav goriyangi kar. Mahaprabhu is coming to show the bhakta bhav, the emotion of a devotee. So a devotee should never think, I've received enough. Always eager. Yes. Srila Prabhupada was throwing some Mahaprasad remnants out to the ducks, and they recognized he was giving one duck extra remnants. So one devotee said, why? Prabhupada said, because he's quacking the loudest. Yes. Asha bandha samutkantha namagane sadaruchi ashaktistad gunakhyane samutkanthe. Yes, always eager. Always a student. It's interesting, one of Srimati Radharani's names is Vidyarthi. Very beautiful name. It means she who is always seeking to learn more, to know more. So Mahaprabhu is looking, he's looking to find some treasures in South India. What can I do to nourish my devotion? What can I do to nourish my movement? And so he comes to this very, very famous place, Krishna, the river Venva. In other places it said Vena, whatever it may be. And this river is very, very famous because a great saint lived there. Yes, Bilva Mangal Thakur. And because Bilva Mangal Thakur had lived there, he was the local saint. He was the local boy. So naturally everyone there was focused on Bilva Mangal Thakur, and Bilva Mangal Thakur wrote a book, Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So naturally, because he was the local saint, everyone was reading that book. Everyone was immersed in that book because we are naturally attracted to a local saint, isn't it? Like I was drawn to Shriti Dharma Prabhu because he was a great devotee, but also because he was from Wembley. And I was like, someone from Wembley can make it. It must be a God. So we are drawn if there is a local person, very close, is close to us. So naturally there is an attraction there. So Mahaprabhu comes to this river Venva, and everyone there is studying Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Here, Kaviraj Goswami says it was a community of Brahmanas. But they were all pure devotees. He makes that strategic point in the verse to remind us, if you ain't a pure devotee, maybe you're not ready for Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So they were studying this book, and when Mahaprabhu came there, then naturally he was attracted. Oh, Caitanya-caritāmṛta is very beautiful. Caitanya-caritāmṛta is very, you know, like in colloquial English, if someone says something very nice, then we say it's music to my ears. So Caitanya-caritāmṛta literally means like the music to Krishna's ears, or the nectar which is filling Krishna's ears. So can you imagine, Bilva Mangal Thakur was so powerful that he wrote something that even Krishna was relishing. That's real, that's powerful, that's amazing. So Bilvamango Thakur, his story is incredible. Srila Prabhupada talked about his story many, many times. And no matter how many times we hear it, it's so incredibly instructive. Bilvamango Thakur became like a hero. In the Bhagavatam, actually, if you read in the 4th canto, it's easy to remember. I call it the hero's purport. 4.25.25. In the Puranjana story, Prabhupada writes this whole purport on what it means to be a hero. And Prabhupada writes in that purport that there are 2 types of hero in the material world. One type of hero is a hero in the material field. But the other type of hero is a hero in the spiritual field, one who has mastered their mind and senses. That person becomes a more exalted hero. And so Bilvamango Thakur's story is incredibly powerful because it shows how he went from being a hero in the material sense, enjoying like anything, to being a hero in the spiritual sense, like completely controlling his mind and his senses and completely then reaching his spiritual potential. Controlling the mind and senses is incredibly important. There's no progress in spiritual life unless we control our mind and senses. Like we talk about the Goswamis of Vrindavan as the masterminds of bhakti. And when I think about the masterminds of bhakti, to me it says 3 things. They're masterminds because number 1, they've mastered their own mind. But number 2, because they've mastered their own mind, they've fully internalized the mind of their master. And because they've fully internalized the mind of their master, they can masterfully reach the mind of any living entity. That is the progress. First, you have to master your own mind. And then you can know the master's mind. And once you know the master's mind, you can reach anyone's mind. And therefore the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they mastered their own mind. And then Sri Caitanya Manobhishtam, they fully understood Mahaprabhu's innermost desire. And then they just wrote things which just moved and transformed people. And Bilvamango Thakur was perhaps the exact same trajectory of sadhu. He mastered his own mind. And then he fully understood the mind of Krishna. And then he wrote down the mind of Krishna in Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And then he gave it to the world so that those who are Rasika Bhaktas can have their own mind moved by those words which were penned by the master mind who had understood his master's mind. So Bilvamango Thakur is an incredible personality. There was an American writer, his name is Joseph Campbell. And what he did is he studied religions, he studied theologies, he studied all the Hollywood movies, and he studied all the heroic journeys in this world. And then he came up with something called the hero's journey. And he said that if you look in history, anyone who became a hero went through a particular journey. And maybe it was different in different people's situations, but the elements of every hero's journey in this world, whether it's a religious hero or a political hero or a entertainment hero, if there's such a thing, they all went through a certain trajectory in their life. He said the first thing that happens in the hero's journey is there is a call to adventure. Something will happen in that person's life which calls them to look for something more, to endeavor for something higher. And then he says the next thing that happens in the hero's journey is there is supernatural aid. Someone will come to help them, to guide them, to instruct them, to show them the path forward. And then he says the next element is the threshold. And that's the point where the hero goes from what they know to what they don't know. They make a journey into the unknown, to take a step into an uncomfortable zone in order to find their calling. And then he says the next thing that happens in a hero's journey is that there are distractions, and there are temptations, and there are obstacles. And then he says if the hero continues on, then what happens after some time is that there is a revelation, there's a gift, there's an incredible attainment that hero achieves. And then he says the final thing that happens in a hero's journey is then they come back into the world to share that gift with the world. And he says if you look at any incredible personality, then they went through these stages. So it's kind of pretty amazing, because if you look at even our Shastra, it's quite accurate. If you look at the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you can map Mahaprabhu's journey in that way. If you look at the great saints of the Bhagavatam, whether it be Narad Muni or Dhruva Maharaj or Ajamil, you can map the same stages. Even if you look at our contemporary acharyas, Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you can map the exact same stages. And if you look at the life of Bilva Mangal Thakur, you see the exact same stages. Because the first thing that happens in Bilva Mangal Thakur's journey is that there's a call to adventure. Something happens which makes him realize, I got to change my life. And what was that? It was explained that Bilva Mangal Thakur, although born in a very, very pious family, somehow or other got attached to seeing a prostitute. And her name was Chintamani. Amazing name for a prostitute. So it said that he would go to see Chintamani every single day without fail. That's how attached he was. And here Mahaprabhu is walking on the river Vainva, and it said that Chintamani, she was on one side of the river, and Bilva Mangal Thakur was on the other side of the river. So every day when Bilva Mangal Thakur would want to go and see her, he would take a boat from one side of the river to the other. And then it's mentioned that his call to adventure came. Because on one particular day, it happened to be the day when he was doing the funeral rites for his own father. And as he was doing the funeral rites for his own father, he was so enamored. His mind was so much hijacked by sense gratification that when he was doing the funeral rites for his father, he was telling the priest, "Jaldi, jaldi, finish it up quickly. I know you need to go and see her. Time is going." Sometimes nowadays people do yagyas and the people tell them, just shortcut, just get it done, time is going. So Bilva Mangal Thakur, can you imagine? He was doing the funeral rites for his father and he was telling the priest, just speed it up, I need to go and see Chintamani. That was what was on his mind. Had become so enamored. And then it's explained after the ceremony for his father, there was a great feast, feeding all the brahmanas, feeding all the sadhus, because that's very, very auspicious. So what did Bilva Mangal Thakur do? He took some tiffins and he saved it because he thought, I'll give it to Chintamani, the prostitute, when I go and meet her tonight. The feast that was meant for all the sadhus, he was taking there. So you can immediately begin to see from his behavior that in colloquial English, he had kind of lost it. He had lost the plot. And then the time came to go, and it's explained that a huge storm broke out. No one in their right mind would go. But Bilva Mangal Thakur was not in his right mind. He was definitely not a mastermind at this point. And so he began walking to the bank of the river Vainva, thinking, no, I must see her. Whatever it takes, I will go. And he reached the bank of the river Vainva, and there was no boatman. Because after all, on such a stormy night, What kind of person would want to come? There's no business. So no one would be there. But Bilvamango Thakur was there, and there was no boatman. But he was looking on the other side of the river thinking, I've got to reach. And so he said, I'll just swim. I'll just do it. I'll swim. I can do it. So he began swimming. I don't know if he was a good swimmer or not, but it's explained that at one point he was swimming, the rain was getting heavier, the winds were getting stronger, and the waves were getting higher, and he began to drown. He was drowning. And he wasn't thinking about saving his life, he was thinking about getting to Chintamani. And in the midst of drowning, it said that he hung on to a log, stay afloat somehow or other. And he grabbed onto this, in the dark of night, onto this log, and somehow he made it to the other side of the river. And then as he got to the other side of the river and kind of picked himself up onto the shore, he looked and he realized, oh my God, it was a corpse. I grabbed hold of a corpse, but I was so fixed in my mind on my goal that I didn't even realize the crazy thing that I was holding on to. So, shocking. Once I was in Jagannath Puri, and I somehow got up really early, so I was trying to go to Puri temple, but it was very, very dark. There was no lights. So I walked towards a place where there was some men around a fire warming their hands. So I went past there. And then as soon as I went past the fire, oh my God, there was a burning corpse in the fire. And I realized I'd walked into a crematorium. It was absolutely shocking. It was one of the most shocking things in my life, and they were just kind of warming their hands. Wow, these guys are quite transcendental, So, but Bilvamango Thakur, he was not moved. It was not shocking for him. Anyway, it was a corpse, but his mind was on Chintamani. So then he began walking to Chintamani's house. Now Chintamani, she was thinking, he's not going to come today. Obviously, it's raining like anything. There's no way. He wouldn't even be able to get across because there's no boatman. So Chintamani, she had gone to sleep. She had bolted the door and she went to sleep. She thought, he's not going to come today. But Bilvamango Thakur came. And then he got to her house and he tried to open the door, but it was bolted. He said, no, how can it be bolted? So then he began shouting, Chintamani, Chintamani. But the thunder and the sound of the rain and the howling wind meant that Chintamani couldn't hear anything. So he was shouting, Chintamani, Chintamani, but no one. So then he thought, I've got to climb over. So he's in the dark, he was looking, how will I climb over this wall? The door is bolted. See, there's a rope, let me grab hold of it. So he grabbed hold of the rope, he got to the top, he realized, oh my God, it's not a rope, it's a snake. Completely oblivious to anything and everything. And as he got to the wall, I don't know if he fell because of the snake or what happened, but he got to the top of the wall and then he fell onto the other side. So he hit the ground with a thud. And as he hit the ground with a thud, somehow or other Chintamani woke up. And then Chintamani thought, who is that? So she came down. And as she came down, and then she walked into the courtyard in the downpour of rain, completely disheveled, just looking like a complete, what Prabhupada would say, a vagabond. She looked at him and she said, you came? He said, I had to come. I had to come to see you. And in that moment, Chintamani gave him the prophetic words. She said, you're so determined for sense gratification. If only you had this determination to attain Krishna, you would be an angel. And those words became the prophetic words, the call to adventure. that Bilvamango Thakur in that moment realized, oh my God, what have I done? If I had that kind of determination for Krishna, I'd be so advanced. So it's such a profound instruction that Chintamani gave to Bilvamango Thakur. Like sometimes people come to me and they say, how do you become determined in Krishna consciousness? How can you get determination, Prabhu? And I kind of look at them and I say, but you established yourself in this world. You climbed up the corporate ladder. You managed to save enough money to get a house. You brought up children. You achieved so many things in this world which already required determination. How you can tell me you don't have determination? Otherwise you wouldn't be sitting there with all the assets that you have. Why are you asking me, how can I be determined? If you didn't have determination, you couldn't achieve what you had achieved in your life. But can you now apply that same determination to Krishna consciousness? You already have it. You already know how to do it. You just have to apply it to Krishna. But somehow or other, our difficulty is that to apply determination in the material sphere is very natural. But to apply the same determination in Krishna consciousness, we have to think 100 times. That's our disease. Like I was just somewhere and one parent was telling me that, it cost them £70,000 to send their child for 1 year of education. I was like, £70,000? They were like, yeah. And I was thinking, for them to spend £70,000 to send their child in education is just like, yeah, we just do that. But then to spend £70,000 for Krishna, you have to think 100 times. I'm not doing a fundraising pitch here, by the way. Just making it real. Or, for someone to stay up at work till the early hours of the morning or the late hours of the night, if they're lucky. Just like, yeah, that's life. We do that all the time. I mean, that's what we do. But to wake up in the morning at 3 o'clock, no, that you have to think 100 times before you do that. Or if someone takes 1 year out of their corporate job to do a course to upskill themselves so that they can earn more money. It's like, yeah, that's what we do. But to take 1 year to go to Vrindavan, to deepen your consciousness, to set you up for eternity, oh no, that you have to think 100 times before you do that. Can you see? Chintamani's words are so powerful. If only you had that determination for Krishna. Sometimes I ask myself, if I had spent 10% of what I did in my material academic education, if I spent 10% of that effort to learn about Krishna, where I would be. It's amazing. So Bilvamango Thakur he got it. He got it in that moment that I need to be determined. I need to just change my life around. And different versions say different things. Some say that he immediately went to Vrindavan, and other accounts say that he went to Somagiri. His initiating spiritual master was Somagiri. And it said that for 1 year he studied under Somagiri, and then eventually Somagiri told him, now it's time for you to go to Vrindavan. There's nothing left for you in this world. So then he got the supernatural aid. He got the... Bilvamango Thakur is incredible. In the beginning of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, the very first line of his book, he says, Chintamanir Jayati Somagirir Gurur Me. In the very first line of his poem, he says, Chintamani Jayati, all glories to Chintamani. Somagirir Gurur Me. Somagiri and Chintamani, they're my gurus. Bilvamango Thakur is so straightforward that at the beginning, the very first word of his masterpiece, his magnum opus, is he reveals to the world, I was going to a prostitute every single day. That's amazing. Like once we come to Krishna consciousness, we try to cover up the past as much as possible. Like, Prabhu, are there any skeletons in the closet? There's no skeletons in the closet to find for Bilvamango Thakur, because he tells you straight up, Chintamani was my guru. Chintamani was your guru? That means you were going to a prostitute. Yeah, I was going to a prostitute. Nothing to hide. Saralata Vaishnavatva. Simplicity is Vaishnavism. Straightforward. So, it's very, very interesting. It's just very, very straightforward. That, I mean, you know, at the beginning of a book, you're trying to develop faith in the author. Right? It's like if someone comes up to give a talk and the MC introduces them, you generally try to say nice things that will give you faith to hear from this person. And they studied at UCL and all that kind of stuff. Don't know why that should give anyone faith, but anyway. People say that kind of stuff. But here, imagine you would introduce someone and you would say, and here is so-and-so. His guru was a prostitute. You know, like, maybe I should be at another event. Like, should I be listening to this person? Bilvamango Thakur is so straightforward. He just says, this is who I am. I was going to a prostitute. And like this. Then he began to go, he journeyed to Vrindavan. And then remember, when you journey into the unknown, then what happens is that there are distractions and there are deviations. So after Bilvamango Thakur had this change of heart and he decided, now I'm just going to go to Vrindavan, give everything up. Then on the way to Vrindavan, what happened? He stopped at a house. And in that house, he saw a lady. And she was very pious. She was a Brahmani, the wife of a Brahmana. And somehow or other, he became overcome by lusty desires again. So he began to follow her. So she was tuned in. She could understand that he is attracted to me. So she was walking. She saw, my God, he's following me. Stalker. So she thought, let me just walk all the way home and bring him home. My husband will be there. So she brought him all the way to her house. So Bilvamango Thakur ends up there. So the Brahmani goes in and her husband is there, the Brahmana. So the Brahmana comes, he sees Bilvamango Thakur. He's so spiritually astute, he can understand what's in the heart and the mind of Bilvamango Thakur. So he says, what is it? I see that you're a renunciate, but I see that you have become enamored. What is on your mind? What is in your heart? And Bilvamango Thakur just tells him straight. He says, I want to embrace your wife. That was like, wow. There wasn't any beating around the bush there. Just says, I want to embrace your wife. And the Brahmana, even more incredibly, looks back at Bilvamango Thakur and says, oh, if that's what you wanted, why didn't you just tell me? I'll make all the arrangements. So the Brahmana goes to his wife and she says, he wants to embrace you. You dress yourself up. Amazing. And he says, and then you go to him. Maybe he knew, I don't know. So she comes in front of Bilvamango Thakur. Bilvamango Thakur says, I want to enjoy. She says, okay. And then in that moment, Bilvamango Thakur again realizes, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm going again down the same track. And then what does Bilvamango Thakur tell her? He says, it's okay. I don't want to enjoy. But do me one thing. You see those pins in your hair? Give them to me. Okay. Why you want the pins? Give me those pins. He takes the hairpins from this Brahmani And in that moment, Bilvamango Thakur just points them to his eyes and kills his eyes. He says, these eyes have diverted me throughout my life, deviated me from my purpose. I don't want these eyes anymore. And he blinds himself. That's one way to deal with sense gratification. And then he continues on to Vrindavan as a blind man. There's a beautiful old movie of Bilvamango Thakur. You can see him walking as a blind man to Vrindavan on this journey to find Krishna. And it's said that as he gets closer and closer to Vrindavan, he doesn't know, he's blind, how to find my way. So it said a cowherd boy comes to meet him and he takes his hand. And as he takes his hand, he guides him into Vrindavan. So he's thinking, who is this cowherd boy? His hand is so soft. His association is so sweet. I can't see him, but I can smell him, I can feel him, I can sense his incredible energy. And then he reaches Vrindavan. And the boy says, now you're in Vrindavan. And the boy says, but now I have to go. My mother is calling me. No, how you can go? He tries to hang on to his hand. No, I have to go. My mother will be angry if I don't come back. So the boy starts walking away and he says, you may leave now, but I've imprisoned you in my heart. I have to see you again. Don't leave me. Of course, we learn that that boy was Krishna. And so then Bilvamango Thakur comes into Vrindavan. There's this amazing revelation of Krishna. Remember, in the hero's journey, there's a revelation. And then it said that Bilvamango Thakur takes up residence at Brahma Kund. Brahma Kund is a very, very significant place because it said this is the place where Brahmaji came after he had offended Krishna by stealing all the cows and the cowherd boys. And there Brahmaji cried. He cried so many tears that I've made so many mistakes in my life. And that Brahma Kund came about from Brahmaji's tears of repentance. So Bilvamango Thakur took up residence at Brahma Kund. Of course, many, many great things happened at Brahma Kund. It's also said that Mirabai, when she came into Vrindavan, then the first night she spent was a night at Brahma Kund. Very, very powerful place. Of course, we know Rupa Goswami was also there. The deity of Vrinda Devi was also discovered there. So Bilvamango Thakur stayed there for many, many... it's said that he lived for 700 years. The dating of when he exactly was here is not fully known. And there then he wrote all of these beautiful literatures, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and there he wrote also many, many other songs. Vraje prashidam navanita chauram, gopan ganana chadukola chauram, maneka janmarjita papa chauram, chaura graganyam purusham namami. This beautiful prayer where he says, Krishna, you're a thief. You stole the clothes of the gopis, you're stealing the butter, you're stealing away the sins of all the conditioned souls. Krishna, you're a thief, you've stolen away Radhika's heart. Krishna, you're a thief, you've stolen the luster of the dark, fresh rain cloud. Krishna, you're a thief because those who surrender unto you, you take away everything from them. He said, Krishna, you stole away everything. And because you're such a thief, I'm running behind you with the ropes of my love, and I've captured you with the ropes of my love, and I've imprisoned you within the dark cell of my heart, and I'm not going to let you go. Very, very beautiful prayer by Bilvamango Thakur. So here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to the river Vainva, and there he takes this book, the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which is very, very beautiful, describing the very, very intimate details of Krishna's life, Krishna's heart, Krishna's interactions with his most confidential devotees. And in this way, Mahaprabhu is nourishing himself and he's nourishing the movement. Because ultimately, Mahaprabhu wants us to come and taste. Sometimes they say, do you eat to live or do you live to eat? What do you think? Eat to live or live to eat? Eat to live? That's what we generally say. Gaudiya Vaishnavas say no. We don't eat to live. We live to eat. We live to taste. We live to relish. Because without rasa, there is no meaning to life. Yes, there are 4 kinds of food which are eaten. That which is sucked, that which is chewed, that which is licked, that which is drunk. But the Rasika Bhakta is also eating 4 other types of taste. The 4 rasas, dasya, sakya, vatsalya, madhurya. And therefore, tasting, muhoraho, rasika, bhuvi bhavuka. That one must become a rasika and taste. So Mahaprabhu wants everyone to taste the nectar of Krishna, Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So Mahaprabhu brought all of these things, made them available. But then the question is, who is going to become qualified enough to taste? Because unless you become a connoisseur of bhakti, Krishna-caritāmṛta will remain very, very far away. And Krishna-caritāmṛta and the higher tastes of Krishna cannot be relished unless one first becomes a master of their own mind and senses. And therefore, Bilvamango Thakur reminds us, first become a master of your mind and senses. Then you will be able to understand the mind of the master. And then you will be able to do things, say things, write things, produce things, offer things to the world that will move people's minds, that will move people's hearts. And this is why the saints are so valuable to us. Sadhu marganu gamanam. We're following the saints because they've learned how to live. Because living means you have to taste. And they're showing us how to taste what real life is. So here Mahaprabhu is really bringing Bilvamango Thakur to the forefront. Bilvamango Thakur may not be in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Bilvamango Thakur, it said, was actually a disciple of Vishnu Swami. He was in a different Sampradaya and he had his journey. And so Mahaprabhu is revealing, it doesn't matter where one is tasting, where one has developed that purity of consciousness, then all of Krishna's pastimes become available. So like this, Caitanya-caritāmṛta is opening up a world to us. So there's a very beautiful painting you can see, you may have seen that, of the blind poet with a veena, and Krishna is right there. So there's a controversy over that painting because some people think that's a painting of Bilvamango Thakur and Krishna, and some people say it's a painting of the blind poet Suradas. So one time one devotee came to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, someone is saying this is Suradas, not Bilvamango Thakur. So Prabhupada said, yes, it's Suradas. And then the devotee said, but Srila Prabhupada, we've always learned that it's Bilvamango Thakur. That's what everyone is saying. Prabhupada said, it can also be Bilvamango Thakur. They said, they are 2 birds of the same feather. Their pastimes are like twins. So it's very interesting actually, if you look at history, sometimes people also mix up Bilvamango Thakur and Suradas. Suradas was also not in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Suradas was in the Vallabha Sampradaya actually. Vallabhacharya, his son was Vittalnath, and Vittalnath had 8 poets who he wanted to produce poetry that would then move people's bhakti, and he said that of those 8 poets, Suradas was the leader. And so sometimes when you read about Suradas and Bilvamango Thakur, it seems like they're mixing the stories. Of course, Suradas, he was blind from birth. And while Bilvamango Thakur wrote Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Suradas wrote his, it's called Surasagar, is it? Yeah, his poems. I think they're in Hindi or Brajabhasha. So like this, Caitanya-caritāmṛta is opening us up to the world of the saints. So maybe on this day we can take those prophetic words of Chintamani to Bilvamango Thakur. If you had that kind of determination for Krishna, imagine how far you'd be. So in those moments when we feel like I don't have determination, I don't have desire, I don't have discipline, you have it because you've showed it in so many other aspects of life. Now, we just need to transfer it over and see what happens if we give it to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I guess we just spend I guess if some devotees need to leave, it's 9:05, just passed. But I can maybe just stop and see whether if anyone has any question or any other comment.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for an incredible class. Maharaj, we often hear that the Vani of saints and those who are pure in consciousness and performing the process of devotional service is very empowering, and often it comes to play. Whatever is said, it happens. In the case of Chintamani, as at least what we know at the outset, that she was a prostitute, but it seems that the words she said carried a lot of empowerment for Bilvamango Thakur. So how do we reconcile this aspect, her being a prostitute and saying something, and it's really striking with Bilvamango Thakur?
Yeah, it's interesting now to give a whole class on prostitutes. He said that when Krishna was walking into Dwarka, then there were prostitutes on the balconies, no? And they were seeing Krishna and they were great devotees. It seems that in bygone ages, sometimes it was just by chance, by some arrangement, by some fate of nature that someone had to take up such a profession. Sometimes there were different reasons why someone may have to do such a thing. And therefore we find there are many, many great personalities who sometimes are even engaged in such seemingly very questionable occupations. So I've never really read anything about the history of Chintamani and why she was engaged in that profession. But clearly she had so much devotion. Clearly, it's explained actually that after she told Bilvamango Thakur that you should just go to Vrindavan, somehow or other it's mentioned that in that moment she got the same realization. And he said that at the very same time she also just renounced everything and she just engaged in Hari Bhajan, and then she also just went to the Tirtha. So it seems that devotional consciousness was latent within her, but by some fate of nature she had taken up such an occupation. And as we see in other places in the Bhagavatam and other pastimes, that often we find that even prostitutes are sometimes extremely elevated. And so like this. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. You spoke about the principle of being straightforward, and my question was, is the degree that we're straightforward different based on the relationship we have with someone senior or peer?
So is the degree that we're straightforward based on relationship? A devotee is always straightforward. But how you're straightforward and how much you reveal of yourself may vary situation to situation. The opposite of simplicity is duplicity. And so duplicity means to present yourself as something that you're not. And it runs very, very deep. Govinda Maharaj used to give the example, if you're in the prasadam and someone comes to offer you more, and actually you want more, but you say, no, there's something. Okay, all right. No. He says even this, duplicity, because you want to present yourself as something that you're not. Someone followed Srila Prabhupada around. He was a bit little, he was not sure about holy people. And so he was hearing, A.C. Bhaktivedanta. So he said, let me follow this person around. So he followed Prabhupada around for a week. After a week, he said, this man is a saint. How you came? He said, because I watched this man morning to evening, and he was never trying to impress anyone. He said, therefore I understood this is a saintly person. So simplicity means to not present yourself as something that you're not. But that doesn't mean that to everyone you just reveal everything. So it's not that if I'm not simple, then I have scope to be duplicitous. We're always simple, but in relationship with someone we may not reveal everything if it's not. But that doesn't mean we have to become duplicitous. You see? So there's revealing who you are, being simple and straightforward, but maybe not necessarily revealing everything, and then there's actively trying to present yourself as something that you're not. So that we should not do. But yes, in relationships we may have to be also somewhat selective sometimes. Is that okay? I think here there was...
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. Bilwa Mangal took extreme action of poking his eyes out, even though there was no instructions, or at least we don't find any instruction from Guru to do that. But he attained Krishna. So should we take some extreme action? And when is that time? Because Guru may give a general instruction, okay, engage in Krishna consciousness, go to Vrindavan, like that. So can you elaborate on that? Can you say something about that?
To achieve what others don't achieve, you have to be willing to do what other people wouldn't do. I don't know about being extreme, but it's going to take a special effort to get Krishna in this life. You got to make a special effort. Otherwise it's not going to happen. So we sometimes see a special effort as extreme, but it's going to take something. So we should make a special effort according to our capacity. Bilvamango Thakur had the capacity to digest that kind of thing. We may not have that kind of capacity. After doing such a thing, we may slide into depression. But Bilvamango Thakur could digest it. He understood his capacity. He understood that now is time to do this, and this is what I need on my journey forward. So yes, there is guidance from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. But at the end of the day, everyone has to, inside of themselves, make the decision. Guru, Sadhu and Shastra will always be there to give us parameters of how we can conduct ourselves. But ultimately it's the sincerity within the heart of each devotee that will have to dictate to them how far they can go and how far they should be going, how much they have left in the tank. And only when you've exhausted and given everything in the tank and you've made that special effort, then maybe Krishna's mercy will descend. Unless there is that parishrama, then there is no kripa, no grace. Therefore we are praying every single day. Mother Yashoda managed to do it because it was a full parishrama. So the point here when we hear about Bilvamango Thakur breaking out his eyes is not that we should do that. That would be anukarini, to imitate the activities. But what we are doing is anusharini, to imitate or to emulate the essence. And the essence is Bilvamango Thakur used up everything in the tank. We can say it was extreme, but from Bilvamango Thakur's point of view, it was just everything he could give. So in our situation, however much you hold back, the only person you're cheating is yourself. Because whatever you're holding back is what's keeping you keeping you away from Krishna. I was in a program last night and someone said, how can I get closer to Krishna? I said, what's keeping you away from Krishna? Answer that question first. Then it will be very easy to know how to get closer to Krishna. Simple. So, Bilvamango Thakur, yes, extreme, or we can say very, very special, but it has to be according to Adhikar. But we are taking guidance. Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Di, Pancharatra, Vidim, Vina, Ekantiki, Harer Bhakti, Utpata, Yeva Kalpate. So take guidance. But sometimes we say take guidance, and then we don't become individually thoughtful about what it's going to take for me to get to Krishna. Because if you want to achieve what other people don't achieve, you've got to be ready to do what other people wouldn't do. That's what I can say. I see hands. I don't know who's next. Okay.
Marge, you mentioned a very, very nice presentation about the journey of the hero. It reminded me one point from psychology. Carl Jung, he created this theory of archetypes, where he said there's archetype of a hero, archetype of a villain, archetype of a heroine, archetype of old man who gives the advice. And he mentioned in his theory that this is like inherent nature of individuals to recognize these individual pastimes and to sort of, as you said, emulate them and see them and understand them. So we can see it, for instance, in the pastime of Ramayana. And the outside world can see it in the movie of Harry Potter. We can see it in Lord of the Rings. We can see it all over, and we can very much recognize these pastimes. So my question is, can we say that the jiva has a natural attraction for this particular rasa? Is it something which is part of us to actually recognize these individuals and these pastimes?
You mean to be a hero or these different archetypes?
To appreciate them, to see their position, and to understand them. Like Lord Ramachandra is the good person. Vishwamitra Muni is the old senior gentleman who gives the advice. Sita Devi is the one who needs to be saved and rescued. Ravana is the villain. Sugriva, Hanuman are those which are supporting the hero.
Mm-hmm.
How come we have such a intrinsic nature to understand these positions and these pastimes?
Means everyone is an individual. Everyone expresses their devotion in different ways. When I was talking about the hero's journey, everyone will be a hero in a different way. A hero doesn't mean you necessarily become a world preacher or you become a Hanuman who throws these big boulders into the... you can be a hero like the spider, or is it a squirrel, or I don't know which one it is. Everyone is a hero. This is the purport I was referring to. Prabhupada says every living entity is a hero in two ways. When he is a victim of the illusory energy, he works as a great hero in the material world. And then Prabhupada says one can also become a hero by being a master of the senses, a Goswami. Material activities are false, heroic activities. Whereas restraining the senses from material engagement is great heroism. So like if Carl Jung says that some people are an archetype of a hero, we would say in Gaudiya theology, everyone is a hero. Anyone who can conquer their mind and senses is a hero. We once went to see Brahmananda Prabhu. Kadambakana Maharaj had told us, go and see him before he leaves this world. He's a great soul. So we went to see him. So for 3 hours he was telling us pastimes of all the incredible adventures he went on to serve Srila Prabhupada. And then I looked at Brahmananda Prabhu, I said, Prabhu, what's the hardest thing that Prabhupada asked you to do? And he thought for 1 minute, he was silent. And then he looked at me and he said, the hardest thing that Prabhupada told me to do was chant 16 rounds attentively. I said, you went to the Middle East, you went to Pakistan, you went to Africa, you conquered all kinds of places. The hardest thing is to conquer your own mind. Truman says that. He said, I studied the lives of great people, and with each person I saw that they won many battles, but the first battle they won was the battle over their own mind. Mana param karanam amananti samsara chakram parivartayadyat. Because the Bhagavat says it is the mind which is perpetuating material existence and our innate dissatisfaction with everyone and everything. So you got to be a hero. And on that hero's journey, everyone falls at a certain point. Some people get the call to adventure, and it's just like, yeah, I'll do it next week. So they don't even answer the call of adventure. But then some people get the call of adventure, and then but they don't get any guidance. They don't go to a person who can guide them on that journey. So then they fall. But someone can get guidance on the journey, but then when it comes to that point where you have to go over the threshold and journey into the unknown, then they say, I don't know, maybe next time. And then there are people who go over the threshold into the unknown, but then there are doubts, there are dilemmas, there are obstacles, and then they fall there. When I was a kid, they used to have this program, Gladiators. I don't know if you remember that. And in Gladiators, there was a part of the program where the person had to like run through, and there were all these things stopping them. And they just had to keep running and just going through. So the spiritual life is something like that. The hero's journey just means you have to keep going, you have to keep walking, you just have to be relentless. We used to have one sannyasi, he used to come here, and his mantra was, quitting is not an option. Quitting is not an option. So that's real heroic. Who's going to be that heroic to just keep going? Everyone, probably everyone in this room received the call to adventure. Now, who's going to walk that path? Okay, I saw one last, I think there was, one last, and then I think...
You said adhikar, and also you were giving example of determination before. A normal, we call karmi, maybe engaged in the material life with determination to achieve, and they achieve to the degree of the adhikar or the karmic bank balance. In the spiritual life also, do we have, as you said, adhikar or to the degree of our spiritual piety or sukriti we would have done in the previous lives? So I was thinking 2 ways of processing that aspect is, I can be satisfied with where I am in my spiritual life. I say, okay, this is my adhikar. I don't think I can, yes, this is devotee is doing wonderful. And this is my adhikar where I am, but I can also be lazy to say, not go any beyond, just stay there. So
okay, so you're saying like in material life, some people have a high adhikar to achieve in a high way, And in spiritual life, are we also having an adhikar which, allows me to do what I can do at this moment in time? Yeah. But you can increase your adhikar. Increase your adhikar. Associate with Vaishnavas. Immerse yourself in Pancha Anga Bhakti. Take shelter of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Make a special effort. And maybe we'll see that our adhikar increases. Because the ultimate adhikar is that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Sadhya Kabunoi. The ultimate adhikar that you have is that love is already in your heart. Now all you have to do is increase your adhikar to engage in the hearing and chanting that will awaken that love. So if we're wise, we'll ask ourselves, how can I increase my adhikar? Not to say, oh, this is my adhikar, let's go with that. No, time is going. So, I have to work hard. Hare Krishna. All right, thank you so much. There could be so many other questions, but I don't want to hold you. Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Svayam Bhagavan Keshava ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,